Dan Hodges is here from the Mail on Sunday. Dan, just before we get going, we've got something beautiful to show you, and this has been put together by the good folks of Guido Fawkes. And it's an appreciation, if you like, of Rachel Reeves' time as Chancellor so far.
Rachel Reeves is a serious economist. It's beyond time to put her ideas and energy into action.
With me as Chancellor, you'll get economic stability. Stability to protect family finances.
Labour's first step to deliver economic security is going to help me and my customers.
So the first step in Labour's mission to restore growth is to deliver economic stability. Keir Starmer and I have a clear plan to grow our economy, and that starts with returning stability to the economy. We're really pleased to fight this election on the economy. That means bringing stability back to our economy.
People are sick and tired of this. They want some stability.
My #1 commitment is to bring stability back to the economy. Stability is change.
And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability.
You can probably just about make out is, look, that's the 10-year borrowing rate, the 10-year gilt yield, and it is up to the highest level since 2008.
At the moment, what it costs the government to borrow money is at its highest rate since 2008.
Rachel Reeves is under pressure because of the rising cost of government debt, which means that there's less money for other things, essentially.
It's been a rough old day for the government on the financial markets. Let's look at UK 10-year borrowing costs.
Did Rachel Reeves sail too close to the wind in the budget?
That's even higher, and actually it's at the highest rate since 1998, so we're going back even further through history there.
Do you think that number 10, do you think the centre of the machine has enough kind of intellectual heft at the moment to deal with this?
And the answer is no.
Yeah, with best wishes to Andrew Marr. Used to have quite an interesting career, but I'm afraid not so much anymore. Dan Hodges is here. Dan, very good morning to you.
Morning.
I mean, you can't really argue with that little montage of views, can you? I mean, it's all started so well. It was all going to be so promising. It was going to be the first Labour female Chancellor, the first female Chancellor of all time. It was all about the grown-ups. It was all about stability. You know, and now it's all literally gone so wrong that people are wondering how long she can stay in the job. I think last time you and I spoke, you were asking questions about that.
Well, I mean, I think Rachel Reeves will be in the job for a little bit longer. I mean, if she was here, she would be sort of trotting out the normal mantras of the mess she inherited from the Tories and the Tory black hole. I mean, I've got some sympathy for that argument. I mean, I think people have slightly short memories. I mean, the Tories weren't just unceremonially booted out of office with this, you know, this catastrophic election result because people were delighted with 14 years of their own economic management. I mean, there is no doubt she has inherited a pretty bad economic hand. But the problem
she's made it worse, though. That's the problem.
But that's what I was going to say. I mean, you can't say anything other than she's playing that hand badly. I mean, as you saw there and your viewers saw, we were promised stability and we were promised growth, and we've had the opposite. Now, I mean, politically, I think there are a couple of things. One thing, I think Rachel Reeves was helped yesterday by the rather bizarre and intemperate, although it's becoming increasingly typical, intervention by Liz Truss, and Liz Truss reminding everybody of her economic legacy. I think that's quite helpful. I think some of the attacks on Rachel Reeves for going to China today are a little bit over the top. I don't see any reason why the Chancellor shouldn't be going to what is one of the world's largest economies and potentially one of our largest trading partners.
Well, that depends on what she's going there to do, doesn't it? And you said if she was around, she would be defending her record and saying it was all the Tories' fault. But she's actually been missing in action, as the Telegraph are describing this morning. She hasn't really been out there talking to anyone since long before Christmas.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that is a sort of rather strange. I mean, it's quite clear what the strategy is. I mean,
keep her out of the way.
Rachel Reeves does not want to generate a sense of panic. So we had obviously this statement.
How's that going?
In the Commons, but that's why she's been sending other people out to sort of front this up. I think, look, the key thing on this, let's just turn to the politics for a second. Rachel Reeves does actually have a little bit of time. If in a year's time we're sitting here, even 2 years' time, we've had some bad economic times, but finally we're turning the corner. The economy's starting to grow. Jobs are being created. Confidence is returning to the economy.
Hang on, sorry. Which papers have you been reading, Dan? I mean, I'm not going to stand for that. I mean, the markets are in turmoil. The Treasury has had to go in and bump up the support for the debt. But Britain is now borrowing more money than it's borrowed since 1998. You know, the yield prices are way through the roof. You know, there's no turning around of the economy.
No,
there's
absolutely.
No growth. It's going the other way.
Obviously, if that is the situation that faces Britain, faces the economy, if, as you know, some people are starting to warn, we are on the returning to some sort of 1970s style economic collapse and decline, then it's game over for her. Absolutely.
That's what I think. And I think the trouble for her in that situation is it's not dictated by her or by Keir Starmer or by the Downing Street machine. It will be dictated by the markets, because the markets are what did for Liz Truss.
And you're absolutely right. And as I said, if in 18 months' time, 2 years' time, that is still Rachel Reeves' economic legacy, she's a goner. But equally, and you know this and I know this, and we've seen this many, many times in the past. We obviously, you know, classically saw it with Thatcher. We saw it with Cameron and Osborne. Politically, you do get a couple of years of grace. You get a couple of years to say, we took tough decisions. I know it was painful. I know it was hurting. I know you didn't like what we did. We had to clear up the mess of our predecessors, but now you can start to see the benefits. So if in 18 months, 2 years' time, Rachel Reeves is able to deploy that narrative on terms of the economy, then the picture is going to look very different. What I would say, though, and I think I said this last time I'm on, and this isn't just something for Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer and the government are fighting on too many fronts.
Yeah.
We've got the problems with the economy. We've had the shambles with the grooming gangs. We've got a situation where at any moment there is a possibility, because of some of the measures Ed Miliband's putting in place, the lights could go out.
The farmers are back out in force on the tractors.
We've got the farmers. We've potentially got pensioners freezing in their homes. We've got a looming NHS crisis because we're in the midst of the winter NHS backlog. And here's the crucial thing about the economy. I mean, speaking to cabinet ministers over the last few days, as we've seen, Rachel Reeves, because of these increased borrowing costs, is running out of, has already effectively run out of economic headroom.
Yeah.
If she is going to meet her own fiscal rules, she has two choices at the moment. It looks like one is she either raises taxes again or she cuts spending.
Yeah.
Now, Reeves herself has said she does not have the scope to increase taxes beyond the very significant increases we saw in the budget. So that leaves one option, which is cutting spending. And if the public, on top of everything else, suddenly see a Labour government having to cut spending on police or the health service or in these very areas, education, the fight against crime, etc., defence is obviously another area, then Labour are going to have to turn around and try and explain what the hell a Labour government was for. And Labour did promise change, but it was supposed to be change for the better and not for the worse.
Well, that's
and
right.
This litany, again, we've talked about this. I completely understand the political strategy, get the bad news out at the beginning. But
yeah, I think they've lost control.
Too much. There's just too much bad news.
Yeah. No, they've lost control. This is not in any way a controlled release of bad news. This is an uncontrolled clattering train out of control. And they don't even know where the next piece of bad news is, because we're now being told pretty much in most of the papers this morning there's going to be a full fiscal statement probably on the 26th of March. So maybe no matter how bad things get, unless it really is catastrophic, she stays at least until then. And she has to put together some sort of, part two reboot of the economy. But since you mentioned Liz Truss, let's give her an outing. We've got a little clip from the Liz Truss Book of Memories from yesterday.
Rachel Reeves has pushed this country to the brink of economic crisis through high taxes, high regulation, and disastrous net zero policies. When I tried to fix these problems back in 2022, I was undermined by the economic establishment, and I was forced to reverse the policies before they were even implemented.
Yeah. My great summation, I think, I have to go to my friends at the Daily Star for this. I don't know if you've seen their front page this morning. They've got a picture of a lettuce, and they've got a picture of Keir Starmer, and it says, "Lettuce who crashed the economy tells bloke who is crashing the economy, don't say I crashed the economy."
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all have to be careful now, don't we? You know, my learned gentleman may be watching this broadcast. I mean, the reality is Liz Truss did crash the economy. And
although I had this row with John Rentoul yesterday, she nearly crashed the economy. She didn't quite crash it because it got rescued by Jeremy Hunt.
Well, I mean, I think the economy was going off the. I mean, I can't even begin with the analogies. I mean, I think the Star's done it. Star's done it best. I mean, I think the key thing is, though, as I said, you know, if Liz Truss hadn't intervened like this yesterday, I think Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves would have paid her a lot of money to do so. And you know, just having her popping up, roaming around, doing what is her regular thing now, which is, it was nothing to do with me, Gov. I was only the Prime Minister. You know, there was this shady economic evil cabal which somehow got together to wreck her wonderful plans for growth. I mean, it's just it's a gift to Keir Starmer and Labour. The problem is, it's a gift of diminishing returns, though, because frankly, Liz Truss's credibility is so destroyed. She is such a joke, frankly, to most members of the public.
I do think she was unfairly treated, actually. You know, and I'm not going to stick up. I'm not going to stick up for any politician, but I do think that, given the circumstances of what's going on with Rachel Reeves is getting a much bigger pass than Liz Truss ever got. I mean, Liz Truss, it didn't last a month, as you know. You know, these guys have been in 6 months. We had to wait till November till the supposedly, you know, the gifts came down from the mountain, the tablets of stone, you know, for the budget. And when we got it, it was an absolute crock, you know, and there's nothing good that's come out of it. And every single financial institution and organisation and business has basically said this is bad for growth. There isn't any growth. There won't be any growth as long as we continue with these policies.
But the one thing you can say in defence of Rachel Reeves, and obviously everyone's been pointing this out, yes, she has massively increased borrowing. Yes, she has increased spending, but she has at least, in some kind of sort of with a degree of sort of fiscal logic, attempted to recoup some of that in taxation. What Liz Truss did was, we had record spending, record borrowing, and simultaneously she tried to slash taxes. And that is why the markets went, hang on a second, and remember, not just the markets, as she herself pointed out, her own colleagues, her own Tory colleagues, who were, you know, we're not talking about a group of, you know, hard left Corbynites here. We're talking about her own colleagues. We're talking about people like Michael Gove and Grant Shapps, turned around and said, come on, this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, but those are the sorts of Tories who are obsessed with high taxes. They're the reason we pay such high taxes in this country, because they were part of a Conservative movement that actually taxed working people, for want of a better phrase, more than they'd ever been taxed before. And that's not meant to be the Conservative place. And there is a kind of, you know, there's a kind of theory now in Britain that if you want to cut taxes, there's something wrong with you, you know, because you must pay more money into the system and the state must get more money to make the services better. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. You know, I'm good old-fashioned Reaganomics type, whereas if you let people have more of their own money, they spend more of their own money, businesses grow, you know, profits rise up, and then suddenly the economy is improved. And I'm not one of those people that thinks that we have to continue to pay higher taxes in order to keep the services at a higher standard. The government, in my view, is way too big.
That's a perfectly legitimate and, again, rational economic analysis, but it wasn't Liz Truss's analysis. Liz Truss basically said, yeah, we want the Reaganomic bit, we want the tax cuts, but we want the massive state, and we want the massive state borrowing, and we want the massive state spending as well. So that's the point. At some point, you do have to rebalance somewhere.
No, I get that.
But I think the key point is, though, I mean, that there is a, you know, I've been very disparaging about Liz Truss and saying how beneficial it is to the...
Yes, how misogynistic of you, Dan. I mean, seriously.
The party, it's not, hopefully it's not misogynistic, no. But there is one other side of it, which is, I mean, we do have to step back. I mean, we are in a situation now where serious people are saying, look at what's happening to gilts, look at what's happening in the market. It's not quite the same as the Truss-inspired crisis, but it is a serious issue. And as you said, this is not supposed to be the Rachel Reeves brand.
No.
Okay, this is not what we were supposed to be getting. We were supposed to be getting, you know, the grown-ups are back in charge, as we saw, stability and growth. Now, as I said, I think she's got a little bit more time than some of her critics are suggesting, because of the nature of the way the dynamics, the interface between politics and economics go. But she is going to have to get a grip, and like everything else in relation to this Starmer government, she's going to have to start to demonstrate that she is taking some decisions which are making things better for the people who voted for this government. Because, as I said, you know, there's talk now
people in the
about
public sector, you mean?
Interest rates going up or remaining high, inflation remaining high, the fight against inflation. And as I said, I think the key thing is the extent to which Labour are going to have to now start to announce public spending cuts, because if they are as severe as some people are suggesting, and indeed some people in Cabinet have been suggesting to me, then Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have got a serious political problem.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think that is then when they have a problem as well with the public sector and more strikes. But just very quickly, because we've got to run, what's Andy Burnham up to? He wants a grooming gangs inquiry. That's going to cause a problem for Starmer, isn't it?
I'll be completely honest. I think on this, Andy Burnham's just doing the right thing. I think Andy Burnham recognises what everybody else recognises, and he's in a better position, if you like, because he's slightly less insulated from this issue than Keir Starmer clearly thinks he is. He understands the case and the call for a public inquiry is unanswerable.
He needs to join Reform, since he's now gone far right there, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, but the point is, who is there who is actually arguing against this inquiry except for Keir Starmer?
I know.
I don't know anybody rationally who doesn't recognise that we have to have this. And I think, you know, I wrote about this yesterday. The point is, we are going to have an inquiry now. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I mean,
he's going to have to do it, isn't he? He's just going to have to.
If Keir Starmer doesn't do it, if he digs in, then his successor will.
Yeah.
I mean, there's absolutely no doubt now. So, I mean, why Keir Starmer is still digging in, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it. Dan, we've got to run. Thank you very much indeed. Dan Hodges there from the Mail on Sunday.